Alright, so we've been doing some pretty great work here at Portly Pig Studios. We have completely revamped kind of our studio space. We've made it bigger. We've kind of taken over the main room of our place, and it's basically the studio here in LA. You can see behind me we've kind of got the beginnings of a stage and like a canopy, and like over there is, we've blocked out the curtains. We've got a blackout curtain, lights and everything. We're getting ready to start a little short with some local kids here called Dinner Time. It's going to be a lot of fun because we're basically going to do stop motion with food. And people have done stop motion with food before, but it was like, it wasn't real food. It was food that was made, was cast from silicone or whatever. I mean, you can use some stuff like they did in the Oedipus vegetable short. That was great. But anything that was perishable, they just cast. They also had, 100 people working on that at any given moment, and it's just going to be a few of us. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm very excited. We're going to use real food. We're going to attempt to use real food for the entire set, except for real basic stuff like the stage. There is a very particular camera shot that the director wants us to work on. And we usually don't do a lot of really crazy camera work. We focus mostly on the really gorgeous puppets or really gorgeous sets or really, unique angles and lighting. So this is an opportunity for us to kind of expand our repertoire a little bit. And so that's part of why I'm excited about doing this project. So one of the fancy camera work things we need is like you start out low and you raise the camera up and then you tilt it up to see this really gorgeous spread, this really beautiful set. Because the world is very important in this setup. So we have a pretty good tripod, but we don't have a tripod that does like little measured, kind of like an elevator, very slow, very measured, beautiful like movement. Right? And right now we're not set up to have anything automated, though, that could happen in the future between me and my mechanical engineering work and my partner and his computer magic skills, which I don't understand at all. But between the two of us, we think we could probably eventually get things automated so we could just put it in the computer and the camera would move where we wanted to. But for right now, I needed to be able to make something that would allow the camera to raise up slowly in incremental steps, basically geared. I mean, he's got a good head on his tripod, my animator does, and so it's got a lot of nice pieces. That's actually right here. Here's the head of the tripod right here, and it has a lot of geared spots. What it doesn't have is able to lift from like a lower spot to a higher spot. So, me being me, I decided to kind of jimmy rig something out of what we already have. Our last large project was of gods and golems, and it it had a lot of mechanical components to it, and I had to use my mechanical degree a lot because it had a lot of we had to use friction, and we had to have a jointed puppet, and we had to be able to get it to move, and then we had to have tie downs. But this little guy that I've made here, I don't know what it's called. I guess I'll just call it an elevator rig. It's really simple, actually. All I did is take 3 pieces of wood and a piece of threaded rod from here up to here. So from the top to the bottom. Here, I'll move it. It's kind of attached to a lot of stuff right now. That's to keep it nice and stable, because that's part of the problem when otherwise we would just use a tripod and raise it up in slow increments, but it's not very stable. And also the increments aren't measured, so it'd be a little jumpy, right? This threaded rod enables us to move this camera that's attached to this piece of wood up and down very slowly. And so all I did is take the threaded rod, and I have a sort of a washer right here, and the threaded rod goes down through the washer, and there's a little divot in this wood, and that's where it sits at the same size as the threaded rod. And then I'm kind of using this as like a ball and bearing in a weird way. So I've got a lock washer right here at the bottom. It's kind of hard to see, but a lock washer, a lock nut and a washer, and then the threaded rod. And this has a a T-nut in it, in the piece of wood. So this is actually threaded. This is not threaded, and this up here is not threaded. This also has a couple of lock washers, kind of keeping it together. I don't have a proper crank for it yet, but here's the idea. You just, you're able to kind of turn this piece very slowly, and it will go either up or down while you're animating. And the idea is that it will keep, once this is attached to something really sturdy, this whole thing will keep very still, and very, very slowly, painfully slowly, of course, it will move down in little tiny increments. So the animator can either do like full turns or half turns or whatever, depending on the speed that he wants it, the camera to rise up. And this head is great because it can tilt forward or backward, and it can kind of rotate from side to side. So we've got all the movement right here. So I think this is my first foray into making kind of this little elevator type rig for stop motion. And I started out, I don't even remember exactly what I did when I started out. All I know is that it was really stupid and it didn't work, what I started out doing. But honestly, you know, growing up in the household with a mechanic, you know, my dad actually, he used to tell me all the time, you know, you just got to take the time. You just got to take the time to figure it out. And when you start stuff, usually you have no idea what you're doing. But when you fail at starting things, you end up getting valuable information. So it's not really a failure. So it's the best thing to do is just to kind of dive in and do something dumb and see what can be done, right? And that's, you know, that's where innovation comes from. So yeah, it's nothing that big or that amazing, but to me it's pretty great, and I'm pretty excited about it. If this works out as well as we think it will, maybe I'll make some geared rigs that will go back and forth in a long period, maybe even in a long arc. Who knows? That way we can kind of get large sweeping camera movements. And that would be a nice thing just to be able to have in our tool belt. You know, one more trick of the trade. It'd be great. So yeah. Anyway, that's that's me blathering on for almost 8 minutes about this little gizmo that I came up with. It was really simple to make. If you have questions and want to make one, you can email me. Thanks for watching.